Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome to Evolving Consciousness. Today's video is something very peculiar because this is going to be a series of 7 videos with each video focused on a particular law. When I say law, most of you might be wondering this is going to be a legal class, but no, this is not going to be a legal class. This is going to be something which I have learned from a very powerful book which is being talked about in the self-help circles and the philosophical intellectual communities. Now, what I love about this book is its amount of practicality. It's very pragmatic in the sense that it's very practically applicable. I'm talking about this small book here. It's called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, written by world-renowned author Deepak Chopra. And the amazing part of this book is that you can finish this in an hour, right? So you don't need to spend weeks together to complete this book. But what really captivated my attention was it had such deep, nuanced elements of profound wisdom. Wisdom which was so multidimensional that one can apply it to any aspect of life which has scope of improvement, right? So when he talks about success, right, so he first talks, so the first chapter is sort of like an introduction where he talks about what is success, right? For most of people, success is only confined and equated to career success, but that is not, that's a very limited understanding and a limited definition of success. Success is a worthy realization of your goals, and during the process of realizing your goals, you experience happiness, joy, and there is a certain level of fulfillment which engrosses you during the process. So that, according to Deepak Chopra, is true success. Now, it can be the most ambitious material goals and it can be the spiritual goals as well. But what he's trying to say is if we apply these 7 laws holistically, no matter how ambitious your materialistic goal is, no matter what you're trying to accomplish in the material world, you will be successful sooner or later. This is a law, meaning it cannot fail. Just like the law of gravity cannot fail, just like the law of physics can't fail, right? Newton's law of reactions can't fail. Similarly, the laws of the energy world, the laws of spirituality also don't fail. The only issue is most of us don't have the patience to apply them consistently over a period of time. They lack the quality called perseverance, which is noted to be one of the most common qualities among legends. So there was a recent research which was done, I think it was Forbes, which said that the people who have accomplished something stellar in their lives, if there is one defining quality which was common to all of them, that was perseverance. Because sure, anybody can be talented, anybody could be magical, but what makes the great legends, what distinguishes legends from ordinary is perseverance, is that consistent focus in one direction over a period of years. Now, coming back to this book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, it is extremely pragmatic because in today's world, spirituality is being looked down upon something very complicated, something which not everyone, something which everyone doesn't consider their cup of tea. But what this book does is, it makes it super pragmatic. It goes into the very subtle aspects of life. So during this series, I hope to address each and every law, and also towards the end of each chapter, the author distills practical steps as to how a person can implement these laws. So coming to the first law which the author talks about, the first law is called the law of pure potentiality. Now it might sound sophisticated, but it's actually not. So there is a favorite saying in Sanskrit which says, Yat Pindatat Brahmanda, which essentially means whatever is there in the universe is essentially already there within. Now, even there are certain Ayurvedic texts which also say that whatever is there in the universe is also present within us. So, this law of pure potentiality talks about the essence of self, the essence of being, and there is nothing in this material world which cannot be manifested with the power of the self. He talks about this aspect that when you realize that you yourself are the universe, then you are not limited by logic. You are not limited by feeble ideas from feeble belief systems. He says that when we are established in the self, impossible becomes possible. If you have heard miraculous stories from accomplished yogis and monks, if any of you have read the book The Autobiography of Yogi, wherein there were so many saints who had done miracles, something which was beyond the law of physics. Now, even we do have a scientific explanation for those miracles. For them, it weren't miracles, but it was physics. They were able to reach a state where they collapse the dimensions of time and space. And a person who can collapse time and space, for him doing miracles is as easy as calling someone or speaking to someone via phone, right? So Deepak Chopra talks about law of pure potentiality, and what he basically says is we need to make our central focus established in the self. When we are driven by our ego, meaning we are always having insecurities driving our decision, we are always wanting to fulfill the needs of the ego. The needs of the ego are endless. We want social approval, we want things to work around the way we think it should work. Now, when we are operating through this kind of a mindset, we are not established in the self. Now, one may ask me, how do we know whether we are established in the self or not? Whenever we are at a deep, relaxed, peaceful state, without an ounce of turbulence, without an ounce of confusion, and in that, from that kind of a relaxed and established state, if we are able to operate in that kind of a state, then we can say we are established in the self. Sure, nobody can be established in the self 24/7, but what I'm trying to say, a point towards is, unless our mind is free of turbulence, unless our mind is free of constant onslaught of thoughts, unless there is clarity of vision, there's no use of doing all kinds of law of attraction techniques. There's no use of writing 20-25 goals in the beginning of the year. All those things are good, but what really fuels your goals, what really makes you realize your dreams, is this connection to the self. Because let's remember, the universe gives you what you give it, right? A universe is like an echo chamber. It only gives you what you have already given it. So now, if you are bombarded with such desires and thoughts, and there are positive thoughts and negative thoughts, there's a polarity of all these positive, negative thoughts, and most of the time, most people believe that if we constantly establish ourselves in positive thoughts, we are always going to be happy. It's not possible. Because if you deeply contemplate, negative thoughts are actually a shadow of the positive thoughts. Without negativity, positivity cannot exist, and without positivity, negativity cannot exist. What that means is, from a very layman standpoint, that we need to go beyond the positive and negative and establish ourselves in that self, in that state of thoughtlessness, in that state of self. Now, this can sound very alien to some of you who have never experienced what I'm talking about. But if you have had an experience with nature, when you are completely bombarded with the awe of nature, you would have experienced the flavor of what I'm saying. That sense of deep peace, that sense of deep tranquility, which arises from a stillness of thoughts, which arises between an increased gap between two thoughts in your mind. So that is what I'm hinting towards. Now, Deepak Chopra gives a very beautiful example to illustrate. He talks about a clean, serene pond, and let's say we put a piece of throw a pebble on the pond, and you can clearly see the ripples formed in that serene pond or a serene water body. Now let's say if I put the same pebble on a completely cluttered water body which is full of dirt, filth, and it is completely unstable. It's like moving, it doesn't have any direction, it's moving like moving here and there, and it's fully chaotic, right? Let's say we have a water body of that nature. Now in that kind of a water body, even if you put a huge boulder, sure, there might be an impact, but do you think you'll be able to notice the impact? Now metaphorically, this pond is basically our state of mind. If our mind is established in the self, if we are being able to establish ourselves in the self, our mind is able to better capture our goals, better capture our intentions, and that will have a ripple effect. Now, ripple effect can be thought of represented by a realization of our goals in dreams, right? So this is a beautiful analogy which showcases the power of a calm mind. A mind which is deeply calm is extremely powerful. Now there are certain practical tips which Deepak Chopra tells, and one tip you probably would have guessed by now is meditation. Now meditation is something which has been preached across generations, across religions, but to really experience the powerful benefits of meditation, you need to be a regular doer of meditation. Because as they say, the taste of a process, you need to experience it before you start believing it. Just understanding the benefits of meditation won't do you any good unless you experience it yourself. Also, he talks about practicing non-judgment every day. Our minds are so programmed, so conditioned to judgment that we don't even realize that we are judging people. And it's not only judgment of others, we also judge ourselves. We become too critical or cynical of ourselves. He talks about this beautiful concept that let's decide for the next day, we're not going to judge anyone, any person, anything, no matter what kind of a situation or a person we come across, right? So because he says that having judgmental qualities creates a lot of turbulence in the mind, and the turbulence could lead to cluttering your mind. The turbulence could lead to make you away from the self. And he talks about connecting with nature. Have you ever noticed that when you go out to nature, to an open space, there's a certain stillness which is automatically brought about? Most of us think that this stillness is coming out from nature, but essentially nature touches that infinite dimension within each of us, which we are not aware of. It actually touches that element, that Atman, that consciousness, which is realized at that brief amount of time, and that realization gives us a deep sense of inner peace, a deep sense of inner tranquility. Now, depending on the level of consciousness of each person, you're going to either be in that self for a long period of time, or it's going to be a fleeting glimpse for few. But the idea here is not to be in the self 24/7. The idea here is to keep the mind as stable as possible, to keep the mind as established in the self as possible, so that the more clarity you have in life, the more powerful a manifester you become. Because the more you're stable, the more your frequency is higher, the more you vibrate at a higher frequency. Because let's remember, naturally we are vibrating at a higher frequency. But when we are bombarded and cluttered with the endless chatter of the egoic mind, the endless chatter of the things which happen across us, we lose connection with the self. And with that losing connection, manifestations becomes a labor. Because we try to do all kinds of techniques, but let's remember this, manifestation is a number game, it's physics, it's energy, right? So in 24 hours, how much are you able to be established in the self? How many hours in the day are you able to be calm within yourself? This is the question which each one of us needs to introspect. Now, law of pure potentiality also says that the abundance which we are looking for in the outside world is already a part of ourselves. So once we tap into that infinite potential of bliss, happiness, joy, then we'll realize that the neediness, the wantingness from outside disappears, evaporates. And the funny part is when the neediness and the clinginess disappears, things automatically fall into your lap. Once you realize, once you resonate with that frequency of already having it, right? Because let's remember, Yat Pinde Tat Brahmande, which means that what you are needing for, what you are wanting, is already established in the self. Let me give you an example. Most of us think that when we have a luxurious house, a great vehicle, and a phenomenal job, a high paying job, we will be happy. But what they fail to realize is this thing: the high paying job is going to give you luxuries, the high paying job is going to give you name and fame. But what is it within yourself which feels good? That high paying job makes you feel good because there's a belief system in your mind which says that society will approve me if I do this. Society, I'm a great person if I'm able to achieve these things. Now, because of that belief system, you feel a sense of security, you feel a sense of happiness. Now, you're not actually feeling happy because of that luxurious vehicle, because of that massive home, because of that massive post, right? It's not because of that, but it is because of the recognition, because of the sense of security you're getting, is what is making you happy. If we realize this aspect, right, then we will understand that the source of joy and happiness is not outside, it is within. Now, this doesn't mean that we shouldn't be ambitious in the outside world and we should stop chasing things. What this essentially means is the consciousness we are trying to operate in the world will be completely changed. Now, we are not doing things for happiness. We are doing things while being happy. We are chasing things and we are trying to accomplish our goals while being happy. Not that once we establish, once we achieve those goals, we'll be happy. So the entire equation takes a 360-degree turn. And once this turn happens, life becomes a celebration. Every second of our life becomes a moment of ecstasy. And this kind of consciousness, when one starts to embody that, sure, this is not something very easy because we have been conditioned through many years, right from our early childhood to our mid-age, right? We have been conditioned to a different kind of thought process. But once we start creating this kind of a viewpoint of the world, we start becoming more calmer, we start becoming more focused, and with more focus, more clarity of thought, we are even able to realize the most difficult of our materialistic desires. So, to sum it up, law of pure potentiality says that the source of everything outside is already within, and 3 pragmatic ways how each of us can practice it. Number 1, practice silence, our meditation. Try to be in the stillness and try to forge a relationship with your own self. Commune with nature. Nature is something which is naturally at a very high frequency, and the more you connect with nature, your frequency also increases. Number 3, practice non-judgment. Now, these 3 are something which each of us can do. I know at times it can be difficult, at times we're going to fail, but it's not important how many times we fail. What is important is we are making an attempt towards that direction. With that being said, I would like to end today's video, and we are going to have another 6 of our videos which are going to address the different laws of spiritual success, different spiritual laws of success. Thank you. Hope you found value in this video. And if you really like this kind of content in this video, don't forget to subscribe the channel and like the video. Thank you. Thank you so much.